WNBA star Brittany Griner was back in a Moscow courtroom today, where the club director of her Russian basketball team, a Russian teammate, and the team doctor all spoke on her behalf. Tomorrow, Griner is expected to deliver an apology to the court and be questioned by prosecutors as well as her defense lawyers. New Hampshire Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen serves on the Foreign Relations and Armed Services Committees and joins me now. Senator, thank you very much. So,
nice to be here.
You know, the administration says that this is a policy now, a tactic by the Russians to grab Americans like Paul Whelan, the businessman, Mark Fogel, another American, sentenced to 14, 16 years, serving long terms. Paul Whelan there 4 years. Brittany Griner, obviously the most celebrated of these people, to try to trade them for prisoners. Is the administration, do you think, doing enough to negotiate and try to get something going?
Well, I think, first of all, that it is outrageous and unacceptable for Russia or any other country to falsely imprison American citizens, and that's what they're doing. The administration, I know, is working behind the scenes. When Ambassador Sullivan was here several weeks ago, I had a chance to talk to him about everything that our embassy is doing there to try and address Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan. And so we've got to keep at it. I have worked on a number of these cases, and I know that you have to keep advocating every single day. You have to find a reason to talk to the government. You have to point out that it's not fair. The friends and relatives need to continue to advocate on their behalf. And I know that the administration and this government are going to do everything they can. And all of us are here to do what we can to ensure that those Americans are returned home as soon as possible.
The Russians said today, again, that the public pressure will only make it worse. We know that, former Ambassador and Congressman, cabinet member Bill Richardson has been asked by the family to intervene and to try to go to Moscow. How far should these private appeals go?
Well, my experience is that doesn't, in fact, make it worse, that's helpful because it keeps the people in front of the authorities. It keeps them in the news here at home and reminds them that somebody cares and is working hard to try and get their release. So, no, I'm not sure we can believe anything that Vladimir Putin or the Russian government says.
Let me ask you about Iran, because President Biden in Israel today said that he would use force against Iran as a last resort. But there was certainly a gap between him and the caretaker Israeli Prime Minister Lapid, who said that they have to keep taking actions, as they obviously have been, covertly and overtly, to stop the development of the nuclear program, not just that final stage of getting a weapon. Who's right?
Well, it's unfortunate that former President Trump pulled the United States out of the Iran nuclear agreement, which we were in with a number of our European allies and Iran. And we know that under that agreement, Iran was not producing enhanced uranium. We know that we had IAEA inspectors on the ground to see what they were doing. And because former President Trump pulled us out of that agreement, none of that is happening now. Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon. And I think it's in everybody's interest to work together to try and ensure that they do not acquire a nuclear weapon. That's been the policy of Republican and Democratic administrations. And everything is on the table in terms of ensuring that that doesn't happen. But the other thing that I think is important to note right now is that there have been ongoing negotiations to try and get back into an agreement around Iran's nuclear aspirations. Our European allies are still supportive of that. We need to be working with them. There's a proposal on the negotiating table. I hope that Iran will look at that and will come back to the table and reach an agreement with us.
Now, you just came back from, of course, the NATO meetings as part of the congressional delegation, the oversight of the NATO meetings. And do you see the resolve of Europe weakening as they face inflation and energy issues and other costs, and as this war becomes more and more protracted?
Well, I think there was concern among everyone we talk to that in a democracy, it's important to continue to remind people why this war in Ukraine is so important, why it matters to all of us in democracies that we defeat Vladimir Putin and his unprovoked war in Ukraine. And so that is a concern that I think we all share, and we need to continue to work on explaining to people, helping them understand why this is so important. One of the other things that we heard in our meetings, and we met with everyone from the German Chancellor to the Prime Minister of Japan to the Foreign Minister of the UK and aspirant country delegations, and what they all said to us was how important America's leadership role in the world is. That was reassuring, and I think it's a reminder of just how important the work of this administration has been in helping to put together a coalition to help defeat Putin and to make NATO stronger.
Jeanne Shaheen, thank you, Senator.